My story began like many in families like mine, quietly, with duties that felt like love but also guilt that everyone shared. My name is Isla. For a long time, I was like a third parent who didn't get paid, and nobody really noticed. They only saw me as someone who was easy to use. My older sister Monica had 3 little kids, all under 6 years old. Whenever she needed help, like if she got sick or had a date night, the phone would ring. It was always my mom calling, not asking nicely, but telling me to go help my sister. I never complained, not when I missed college study sessions, not when I canceled dates, not when I had to change diapers at 3 a.m., while Monica slept off her wine. For them, I was just the girl with no life, no boundaries, no say. "You don't pay rent here," Dad would snap if I so much as looked tired. "This is your way of helping the family." But the breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon. I had finally landed a paid internship, something I had worked for tirelessly, and I was expected to attend orientation. I was excited, hopeful even, but just as I was getting dressed, my mom banged on my door. "Monica needs you. She's got a brunch date." "I can't," I said cautiously. "I have internship orientation." "You're skipping that nonsense. This is your real responsibility." I stood my ground. For the first time, I said no. I expected anger, maybe guilt. What I didn't expect was for them to literally throw me out. My father opened the front door, tossed my duffel bag onto the porch, and said coldly, "Go figure out your life since you're too good for us now." That night, I slept at a friend's place. I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I just stared at the ceiling and thought, how long had I been giving up my life for a family that would erase me over one no? How many weekends? How many hours had they stolen from me without a single thank you? And that's when the idea came to me, an idea not born out of revenge, but out of justice. If they treated me like an unpaid babysitter, then I was going to bill them like one. I didn't return home the next day or the next week. I poured myself into the internship and found a temporary room to rent with my friend Maya, who, unlike my own family, treated me like a human being. She even laughed when I shared my idea to invoice my parents. "No, seriously," I said, "they treated me like a living nanny. I'm going to calculate every single hour I gave up for them, and I'll send them a proper bill." Maya raised an eyebrow. "You're joking." "I'm dead serious. And I wasn't exaggerating. I spent hours combing through old text messages, emails, calendar reminders, every emergency babysitting shift. Every night they guilt me into helping. Every time Monica dropped off her screaming kids and vanished for a spa day. I wrote it all down. I even included meals cooked, diapers changed, and the number of times I took the kids to the doctor because Monica couldn't be bothered. By the time I was done, the spreadsheet had 147 entries. I researched average babysitting rates in our area, $19 per hour. I multiplied, calculated, rounded off only slightly. The final total, $12,548.50. And then I did the unthinkable. I typed out a formal invoice. I titled it, "Professional Child Care Services Rendered, Unpaid, Underappreciated, and Taken for Granted, a Statement of Ours." I printed it on nice paper, folded it clean, mailed it to my parents' address in an envelope with no return name, just my initials in the corner, and I waited. It didn't take long. 3 days later, my phone exploded. First, a call from my mother. I didn't answer. Then a voicemail from Monica, venom dripping from every word. "How dare you accuse us like this? We're family, Isla. We gave you a roof and you dare charge us like some street nanny?" That's when it all came boiling out. I texted her back, not with anger, but with cold truth. "A roof you kicked me out of, a job you forced me into, a life you didn't respect. I've kept receipts, now I'm just showing them." But the real eruption happened when I returned to grab a few more of my things. I knocked politely, expecting passive aggression. What I got was a full-blown war. My dad opened the door, face twisted with rage. "You think you're entitled to charge us? What kind of ungrateful child does this?" "An adult," I said calmly, "one who's been used her entire life." My mom hovered behind him, wringing her hands, suddenly adopting her favorite weapon, guilt. "You know, we couldn't afford daycare, Isla. We were counting on you." "And I counted on you to love me," I replied, "but apparently, I'm only family when I'm useful." There was a silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. That's when I dropped the final blow. "I'm not asking you to pay out of guilt, I'm asking because it's what I earned. You taught me to work hard, I just finally learned to ask for what I'm worth." I turned and left. They didn't follow. A week later, my mom sent me a message, not an apology, not compassion, just, "We won't pay, don't bother coming back." That message, that was the last thread holding me to them. And I felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. Not revenge, not anger, peace. Because sometimes justice isn't about making them pay, it's about standing up and saying, "You used me, but you don't own me anymore." Months passed. I didn't hear from my parents again, not for my birthday, not for Thanksgiving, and definitely not for the holidays. It was like I had been erased from the family tree again. Only this time, I didn't try to climb back in. I stayed focused. My internship at the architecture firm turned into a part-time role, then full-time. My mentors noticed my work ethic, probably because I was so used to working under pressure, so used to proving my worth in places that never appreciated it. This was different. Here, I was seen. I remember the day my first paycheck cleared. I stood there staring at the deposit screen like it was some kind of miracle. It wasn't a lot, but it was mine, every penny. I started saving quietly, relentlessly. I didn't go to parties, I didn't take trips. I lived with Maya and split everything down the middle. I clipped coupons, packed lunch, sold custom sketch designs online, and built my emergency fund faster than I ever thought possible. 2 years later, I stood in front of the very same house my parents had kicked me out of, the one with the beige shutters and crumbling mailbox, the one where I had grown up, where I had been turned into a doormat in my own childhood bedroom. Only now, I wasn't knocking on the door. I was walking into the bank. You see, the house had been on the market for months. My dad had lost his job in a layoff. My mom's hours at the salon were cut. They were barely scraping by, and the bank had started foreclosure proceedings. I found out through a neighbor who still followed me on Instagram. When I saw the listing, I made one call to my real estate agent. The day the sale closed, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood in the empty living room and breathed it in. The silence, the calm, the justice. I didn't want revenge, not really. What I wanted was closure. But the universe, I've learned, has a wicked sense of irony. 3 weeks after I bought the house, my mom showed up on the front porch, looking tired, desperate. My dad stood behind her, holding Monica's youngest on his hip. They didn't know. "Isla," my mom gasped, "we were told the new owner was moving in soon. We hoped we could speak to them, maybe work something out, just until we get back on our feet." I opened the door wider. "Hi, Mom, I am the new owner." Her face turned the color of chalk. My dad blinked, the child on his hip whimpered. "I bought the house," I said softly, "with the money I earned, and the money you taught me not to ask for." She stepped back. "You're joking." I shook my head. "I'm not, and I'm not here to punish you, but I am here to remind you of something. When you treat people like labor instead of love, don't be surprised when they finally build something without you." There was a pause, long and sharp. My dad stepped forward. "Isla, we didn't know you had it in you." And that somehow was the most telling part of all. "I know," I said, nodding, "you never did." Then I handed them an envelope. Inside was another invoice. This one was labeled, "Final bill, rent backdated to every hour you took me for granted." I smiled politely. "You can't afford me anymore," I said. "And neither can this house." I shut the door behind me, but I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. Because some endings don't come with closure. Some come with keys, with ownership, with silence earned through years of being dismissed. I stood in that hallway, the one I used to walk through with dishes in hand and screaming children clinging to my legs, and I realized something that shook me deeper than any confrontation ever could. They didn't just lose their daughter. They lost access to her. They didn't see me as valuable until I left, until I rebuilt, until the girl they underestimated became the woman who handed them an eviction notice with a smile. And the final twist, the house I once cleaned for free, I turned into a daycare center. Not for Monica's kids, never again. But for children from struggling single moms in the community, the ones no one ever helped, the ones I knew deserved better. So, I sent the bill for my help, and I used my own childhood pain to protect other kids. My parents, they never forgave me. But strangers, they said thank you. And that was worth all the time I spent. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching this video from.